There's clearly something wrong here. Hey, this is Jecht from JechtSpencer.com, and I'm going to be doing a book review today. We're going to be starting off with Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. And I really liked this book. It was a really quick read, something that you could just blow through in probably like 20-25 minutes. Really short, but just full of great content and a really valuable message for people. This is a type of book that is actually given out in Harvard and is required reading by the Harvard Business Review. So use that as a catalyst for the type of people that are reading this book and the amount of knowledge that people get out of it. So what is this book really about? It's really about taking your core strengths and maximizing them to your full potential. Too many people nowadays, rather than becoming a star in their particular niche or category or community, rather than doing that, they end up becoming mediocre in something that their DNA was never born to do. You know, if you're meant to be an engineer, you shouldn't be an actor. If you're meant to be an artist, you shouldn't go out there and try to be a scientist. It just doesn't make sense. You're literally fighting your own DNA. When it comes to finding out what your strength is, you're going to be wanting to not only doing kind of an audit on yourself, but you want to be going out there and actively receiving feedback from other people to figure out what you're good at. Are you energetic? Are you strong? Are you a good leader? Are you a good communicator? Can you communicate with a certain aspect of person? Are you able to thrive in scenarios where there's a lot of pressure? Or would you be the type of person who would do better to have more stability? You see, this is completely new too. In today's world, everything is so prosperous. There's so many opportunities. Whereas if you were to take us back in time in the medieval times or even before that, you know, if your father was a hunter, you're now a hunter. If your father was the armor smith, you're now the armor smith. If your mother was one of the farmers, you're now one of the farmers. You see, there was not much choice. And now, in a free society, or free-ish society, we're able to actually pursue our passions and do the things that, you know, our DNA was meant to do. And the big thing about this book is about building on strength. He's really key on that. You know, he says you can only build on strength. Would you rather be someone who just ends up being mediocre, or do you want to be a star? Think of it. What are the things that you need to do in order to maximize your own value and your own potential? Well, the first thing is you need to figure out what your strengths are and put yourself in a position so you can execute on those strengths. The second thing you need to do is once you figured out what your strengths are, you're going to improve on them, get better, build on those strengths, build on them, build on them, build on them. And the third thing we have to understand is we have intellectual arrogance, and it's causing disabling ignorance. And the thing about that is that we're actively stopping ourselves from learning the skills because we think we know it all. You're going to want to build on those strengths. Don't try to be mediocre on something that you're not meant to do. You know, find out what it is that you're good at and build on that. The thing that he talks about is the fact that there's a lot of planners in the world. People like to plan stuff. There's nothing wrong with planning, but plannings don't execute things. You know, like in the book he talks about moving mountains. And ideas don't move mountains. Bulldozers move mountains. But where do those bulldozers go? That's when the idea part comes in. That's when you learn how to execute smartly. You know, not everybody has to be a leader. You know, not everyone has to be the one to be in those really high stress environments. Find out where you strive in. You know, where are you in an advisory role? Do you work better when someone else is making the decisions, but you can execute that vision better than they can? Find out where you fit in. And once you find that out, get there. And then you need to improve on this. You need to get better. You know, once you have your strengths, get better, get better, get better. And as you get better, things get better. He also talks about your values. What do you find valuable in your world? What are your core values? What in your heart of hearts is what drives you as a person? When you're able to figure this out, you'll be able to steer yourself clear from either organizations or people that you just don't cement with. Ultimately, it comes down to what Peter Drucker calls the mirror test. And what's the mirror test? You wake up every single morning and you look in the mirror. Now, when you look at yourself deeply in the eye in the mirror, are you happy with the person that you see? If the answer is no, then you're not living in accordance with your own values and in accordance with your strengths. So change that. So all this information, let's encapsulate it. What's the 3 big questions you have to ask yourself? What are your strengths? How do you perform? And what are your values? Figure those 3 things out. What is it that you want to contribute to society? What type of legacy do you want to leave behind? You're going to want to take your goals and at a maximum have them at 18 months out. You want something that you can reach, but not something so far away that it can't be possible. So what are the 3 things that he talks about? So the first thing is you want goals that stretch you. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you can't accomplish the goal, but you don't want a goal where it's so easy that it doesn't give you that drive to push forward. So find what that special thing is. The key word is stretching. Somewhere where it's just out of reach, maybe just a little out of reach, and with that little bit more passion, that little bit more effort, you can go out there and grab it. 2, are the results meaningful to you? Is this something that you actually have the heart for? Because without that heart, without that meaning, without that true result, you're just going to quit. And number 3, results should be measurable. It shouldn't just be this esoteric thing that you've made up in your mind. It should be something that you can actually see with your own 2 eyes and something that you can measure. The other thing he talks about is managing relationships. And the first thing he says is being able to understand that everyone else is just as much of an individual as you are. Everyone else has their own passions, their own dreams, the things that they want to accomplish in their life, their own strengths. And the key is to figure out what they are and then attune yourself to them. If you know someone has this particular strength and this particular skill set, put them in a position where they can thrive. You see, what ends up happening is a lot of people just assume everyone thinks the same, learns the same, and has the same goals. And it ends up just really mucking up communication. Take the responsibility off the other person's shoulders and be the one to properly communicate with them. Let them know what you bring to the table. A lot of times an organization has a bunch of different people doing totally different things, and they bring a group together and no one knows what each specialty is. It's about finding out what the other person's specialty is and letting them know what you contribute and bring to the table. And the last thing he says is understanding that organizations today aren't built on force, they're built on trust. And I don't mean trust like, oh, you got to go around and love everybody and everyone's got to be happy-dappy. No, it's about just a simple understanding of each other, seeing where the other person's coming from. With that deeper level of understanding, that well-oiled machine can work a lot better. That's it. Like I said before, this book was really, really quick. I highly recommend checking it out. Harvard does as well. This is Jecht from JechtSpencer.com. Once again, make sure to check it out. It's Peter Drucker, Managing Oneself. Amazing book. I really enjoyed it, and highly recommend it. I'd probably give it I'd give it 5 out of 5 stars. It's a quick read, and it's something that will truly change your life if you actively pursue the things in it. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe, like, and/or comment. And good fortune to you, my friend. So the key here is to be. So the key component here is to be. Fuck.